transfer to African people everywhere. I think we should look at the Caribbeans again and look at those islands in the Caribbeans. Look at them new. Those specks of dust in the Caribbean Sea once changed the destiny of this hemisphere and might do it again. There's probably not a leader in the Caribbeans worth salvation, but there's some spirit among the people of the Caribbean that's worth total reconsideration. Remember that before the first black arrived in a formal way in the United States, 1619, you had organized slave revolts in the Caribbean. Remember the genesis of the slave revolts, the Haitian Revolution, the revolts in Jamaica. And another thing about Jamaica, looking at it today, it's hard to believe. Jamaica had more revolts and longer revolts than Haiti. But the Jamaican revolts were over a longer period, and the country was destabilized in between revolts. And Jamaica did not become independent. But the Haitian revolts happened over a 20-year period. And Napoleon, who was a fool, had to sell the Louisiana territory to recoup the fortune he lost trying to retake Haiti.
Why you call him a fool? Some rate him as one of the greatest generals of all time.
Look, anybody who will invade Russia in the summertime is a fool, and if you invade Russia in the wintertime, he's a bigger fool. Settle. Argument settled.
Back to students. Do you think that African studies should be required? Let me put it another way. Is there any campus that you've ever visited where Africana studies is required?
Some places where it's strongly suggested. I don't know where it's absolutely required, and I think it should be.
Why do you feel it should be?
Because it's part of the study of the world, and you're not a full human being if you leave Africa studies out. Now, at Hunter College, it's required for certain kinds of degrees you can't get without at least 2 units of African and 2 units of Puerto Rican studies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's required if you want that kind of degree. And at Cornell University, there's another program that I helped to set up. It's required if you want an Africana degree. You have to have so many units. So many are, units in that in Africana studies.
Do you find many young people who have your appetite for history and scholarship?
Not many, but some. And I'm very pleased to say that at least 11, at my last count, heads of Africana or Black Studies programs are former students of mine. And just this year, 11 former students have called me whose PhD thesis I set up, have called me and said they finished their PhD and they got their doctorate.
I want to ask you about your own personal development. You say that you're self-educated and self-taught, but you went to school. Just break it down for the record.
Well, I went to I finished lower seventh, and I did so well I didn't have to take an exam. So if you make straight A's, you don't take an exam. So when I came to New York, and I went to Washington Irving High School at night for a little while, and dropped out for economic reasons. Continued to study. Then I wanted a high school education, so I got the required curricula for the high school, the required books, and I just went on 4th Avenue, secondhand bookstores, and bought all the books that I normally would be reading if I was going to high school, and just gave myself a high school education. I came out of the Army, I took a high school equivalency and went to New York University and studied history and world literature. I became so bored because I had read so much. I was far ahead of the teachers. And I started criticizing their teaching. I didn't expect them to teach black history, but they were teaching white history so poorly. So I left New York University. I went to the New School for Social Research to work with Stanford Griffith in setting up the African Studies Center.
Is there a message that you have for young people?
Well, is it that it might be a cowardly thing to do, but we of this generation must transfer to the next generation the responsibility of giving the world a new kind of humanity, and that the two great forces in the world, the United States and Russia, neither one of them are talking about what the world needs, because the world does not need new ballistic missiles or atomic energy or atomic bombs or thermonuclear energy. They need a new humanity. They need a new concept of people living together with other people. People need to be fed and cared for, and they need to be concerned for people on all levels. There's a power struggle in the world that has nothing to do with the concern of people, and it moves away from humaneness. And I think both of these powers have betrayed their revolutionary promise. They both made a revolutionary promise to the world that is beautiful, and had they kept that promise, I think the whole world would be better. I think they have betrayed that promise, and it is the responsibility of the youth to keep the revolutionary promise of both of these nations to the world, and that the promise is not to destroy the world, but to enhance the world.
What do you have to say to young people who might look at your life and see how you have not accumulated great wealth, and to the contrary, you may have suffered for the use to which you have put your academic expertise? What would you say to them for that price you paid?
But I didn't set out to accumulate great wealth. I set out as a poor kid from the backwoods of Alabama and from a small town in Georgia to use my life to deliver a message, is that from this environment, a life can come that can prove that from the mire of this backwardness, that a life can be valuable and can say something that will improve the lives of other people, and that the accumulation of great wealth may not be the highest goal that a man can obtain.